We now invite our honorable chief guest, Mr. Javed Jabbar, a statesman, writer, and media visionary, to share his thoughts on this session. Please, sir.
I compliment the preceding speakers who have shared with us remarkable troves of research, very thoughtful analysis, all the way from Australia, what we call NGOs in Pakistan, or CSOs, civil society organizations, which are called not-for-profits, to solar energy, how you can make that into a capital asset and mandate banks, and that fascinating presentation from Malaysia as well, how well they are focusing on integrating AI into every possible subject, whether it be English or maths or what have you. And then our very own Dr. Ashraf talking about digital colonialism and the need for us to develop our indigenous to this region. And before one attempts to come to the region, because the subject, I don't know why they've used this picture. I'm smiling. I don't know why I should be a little grimmer. A little grimmer, even though I'm accused of being a congenital optimist. I don't know what I'm smiling at. But let me say, because the subject is future challenges, in my humble view, there are 5 challenges that we as citizens of South Asia face. It'll be difficult for you to remember all of them. But the first is the size and scale of the population of South Asia. Pakistanis are so good at making babies. We have one of the highest rates of population growth in the world. And there are signs of declining population growth, but by the time that happens, in the next 30 years, today's 240 million people are going to become 320 million people. Today's 25 million children out of school are going to become 35 to 40 million children out of school. That's the first challenge. The second is that in South Asia, unlike Southeast Asia, they have their own problems too. We have unsettled issues of self-determination and territory. And Kashmir is the prime example. But there are territorial irritants between Bangladesh and India as well. And those issues impede the growth and the collaboration required within South Asia. The third challenge is the absence of regular, sustained political dialogue. I emphasize political dialogue because even the economy is shaped by political leadership, by political vision. You can't have the economy as a cocoon, in a cocoon separated from harsh realities. And because of the pettiness of a certain neighboring state, which declined to attend the overdue summit of South Asia to be held in Islamabad 8 years ago, that mechanism called the South Asian Regional Cooperation Association is stalled. So there is no dialogue in South Asia. The fourth, all countries of South Asia, whether they be poor or not so poor, like most countries in the rest of the world, are completely captivated by the growth passion. That growth is everything. You have to consume more and more. You have to have 2 Coca-Colas instead of 1. The more you possess, the happier you are. the quicker you'll go to heaven. That ethos of consumption is actually destroying the ecology of our beautiful and unique planet, including that of our region. Because there can be no limitless growth. This incredible planet cannot support the needs of consumption being driven by an economic model that the whole world seems to have adopted without thinking through the consequences. Climate change is making us think, but even that is not enough to stop the roller coaster onto which even China, which is so considered as much wiser than other countries, has also become part of this mad rush to grow through consumption. And the last, which will be where I begin, is the definition of what is a region. We think of South Asia as a region. We think of Southeast Asia as a region. And yes, regions are first and fundamentally defined by geography. Who are your neighbors? You live in the same area. Hello, young man. Hello. अरे मेरी तरफ तो देख ले भाई. मैं अपनी बीवी को छोड़ के आया हूँ आज सुबह. कल रात, instead of having a nice quiet dinner with my wife in Karachi, I'm asked to take a night flight and come here, and I want to communicate with you rascals, especially the young people, slightly older than me, of course. And communication is through the eyes, eye to eye. It's not just through voice. Eyes is how you engage with people. And I will learn from the expression in your eyes, much more perhaps than what you might learn from me. So, what are regions? Are they really geographic? Because history has shown us that you can be part of a region which is not geographically proximate with each other. NATO, for example, has Canada and the United States, which are not part of Europe, but they are considered one military region. So regions are not geographic. For many decades, because of its advanced education system, Japan was really part of the West. It was physically part of Asia, but its per capita income, its modernization was far ahead of China. So Japan had more in common with Europe and North America. Just as Australia, which is supposed to be part of Asia, even though it is down under, not in a negative way, Australia today has a defense partnership with the United States of America and the United Kingdom. Whether it is because of the leftover of colonialism or geopolitics or the desire to contain China, Australia and New Zealand are part of a completely transcontinental region. So when we talk about South Asia, is there a South Asia? Why is there no talk of a North Asia? Have you ever heard of North Asia? Have you? So where is it? How can you have a South without a North? We don't have a North Asia because Russia and China, Russia mostly, goes all the way from the Baltic Sea and the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. Territorially, it occupies actually a lot of Asia. So South Asia, look at South Asia itself. If you decide, let's look at the 8 countries that constitute the conventional definition of South Asia. India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, the Maldives, Afghanistan. The first aspect of this region that bothers me is asymmetry. One country larger than all the others. And it's not because I'm a parochial Pakistani and I don't like what India is doing about its neighborhood policy. I'm looking at asymmetry as a global phenomenon. Look at the asymmetry of power. The asymmetry that makes America today the world's largest economy and the only country in the world that has 800 military bases of one kind or another around the world. That is asymmetry, very unhealthy asymmetry. A world should not have one country that has a pervasive presence across the globe. It's just not healthy. It's like living in a family where one person dictates and decides every aspect of what the family will do. So asymmetry is not good, full stop. But we have asymmetry in South Asia. And what that neighbor is going through currently, the internal phenomenon of Hindutva, is not just an internal matter. It has external consequences. Then there is a reverse asymmetry, where one small country, physically, develops the capacity to dominate an entire region, of course with the support of a certain other country, 10,000 or 7,000 miles away, and that's Israel. Israel has very little in common with its immediate neighbors, even though historically Judaism is as indigenous to the soil as Islam or Christianity. But geopolitically, Israel can't be considered part of the Arab world because it expounds Zionism, which is ethnic, which is religious, which is aggressive and predatory. So, when we look at the future challenges in the 21st century for South Asia, we are looking at a world facing extraordinary uncertainty, not only with generative AI, but with a new kind of geopolitical relationship. Are we looking at new forms of organization? We have been living as nation states. Nation states as a concept is relatively young, only about 400 years old. Human history stretches back thousands of years. The recorded history began, as you know, about 4,000 years ago, out of which nation states, where people matter rather than the ruler, is really born in the 17th century with the Treaty of Westphalia in Europe, where after 30 years of murderous war, they decided we will respect frontiers and we will not interfere in the internal affairs of the neighboring country. So, is the nation state going to endure in the 21st century? When the United Nations was formed in 1945 after the Second World War, there were only about 35 to 40 nation states. Today, 193 nation states are members of the United Nations. Pakistan became the first nation state after the Second World War to disintegrate. And it was a terrible blow for Pakistan. But we rebuilt ourselves. We are so passionately devoted to the name and the concept of Pakistan that with all our problems, we have developed a sense of Pakistaniyat. And we respect our national anthem, we love our flag, we like being Pakistanis. Mad, crazy, irreplaceable. But what world are we heading into? We rebuilt ourselves. But South Sudan split from Sudan. Kosovo in the Balkans is waiting to become a full nation state separate from Bosnia, even though Kosovo is also Muslim. And it's not just territorial or religion. The concept of affinity, of shared qualities, that because we have the same religion or the same language, we become a nation. Now, the big tech platforms are creating new affinities. I like to say that a person who lives on a road called Sunset Boulevard in Defense Society, Karachi, has more in common with a person living on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. He's in daily touch through Facebook or Instagram, or they have professional connections, than he has with someone living in a slum 1 mile from Sunset Boulevard, Karachi. And the same applies to Lahore. So, completely new sense of alignments and relationships are emerging through trade, travel, instant connectivity, empathy, alienation from the state, exercising too much power, alienation from corporations that are too greedy. So, one of the challenges is going to be, how do we manage the nation state that we currently use as a mechanism? Because clearly, it is still at a very formative state of evolution. So let me come to the conclusion. What is the way forward? You know, we are talking about the future, but I'm always struck by the fact that obviously we don't know what the future is going to be. No one knew, even after ChatGPT hit the scene, that China would come up with DeepSeek at a fraction of the same cost. We didn't know that. But do we know history? To my humble mind, history is more mysterious than the future. And unless we know history, we cannot really shape a better future. We think history is a matter of the past. Who's interested? Yeah, who's interested in what really happened? We are more interested in today and tomorrow. What job am I going to get? Which girl am I going to marry? Which boy will I get? It doesn't have to be one gender always. We don't know. But truly, when you look at history, look at the genesis of Pakistan, how many of us realize that we are part of the most uniquely created nation state in world history? No nation state was born with two wings separated by 1,000 miles of hostile territory. 1947, when most of you were up in heaven looking down. And look what happened. West Pakistan there, East Pakistan here, and India in the middle. And Indian leaders said Pakistan won't last more than 6 months. And Afghanistan was the only country that opposed the membership of Pakistan in the United Nations. And it withdrew its opposition later. But imagine a country coming into being with two wings separated by 1,000 miles, not of friendly territory. In America, as Siraj Saab was reminding me, I tell them when I go to a university there, imagine New York on one side and California on the other, and Russia in the middle. How would the United States have evolved with a perennial adversary, hostile to your very existence? Take a house in DHA, Lahore. It's like living in 2 bedrooms, and you can't communicate directly from one bedroom to the other because there is a very hostile guy occupying your drawing room. And you can't cross without his permission into the other room. My God, we actually managed to survive for 24 years. And then, of course, due to our own mistakes and India's intervention in East Pakistan, we disintegrated. But our history is even more complex. Look at the tender, youthful age of the name Pakistan. Invented in? When was it invented? Arey akalmando, arey naujawano. Oh, you rascals, you don't even know that? Hey, the word Pakistan is not something like which has come down through centuries of history. Every word which has age in it has resonance. The older the age of a word or a name, the more resonant it is. मियाँ आपका क्या नाम है? हाँ? बवर. वाह, वाहिद. आपका क्या नाम है? नेहा? हनिया. वाह, क्या नाम है? कैसे अच्छे अच्छे नाम हैं. Such lovely names. They have the whole mystique of time, been spoken for centuries. You have a sense of affinity with China. Same place, same language, same people, thousands of years. Pakistan didn't even exist as a word before 1933. For 7 years, no leader used the word Pakistan. It doesn't even figure in the resolution adopted in the city, which we sometimes mistakenly call the Pakistan resolution. समझे बे? ओ मियाँ, जी आपसे अर्ज कर रहा हूँ, लाहौर की करारदाद में पाकिस्तान का नाम नहीं है. And we celebrate it today. The word Pakistan doesn't occur in it. And within 7 years of that, 7 years, the word Pakistan gains currency throughout South Asia. And we become a nation state. And we still held on to it, even though Bangladesh rejected the name Pakistan. So, there are other reasons also that make us unique. The reason I digressed is that history is mystery. And it is worth exploring the complexities and the beauties and the secrets of history if we want to face the future. Because once you know where you come from, where your grandfathers, everyone wants to know their family history, what they're doing, who met who, how did they procreate. So the way to get into the future is through the past. Study your history. The first 18 years of Pakistan's history were absolutely miraculous. We achieved phenomenal economic growth despite being born virtually without any infrastructure, despite India denying us our fair share of the original treasure that the rascal British had left behind. They didn't give it to us. We had to scramble and create our own infrastructure. And how well we did. We overtook India within 8 years. Our GDP growth in 1953-54 was 10%. And the Indians were bewildered. How is this happening to a country that wasn't supposed to exist more than 6 months? So, when we look at the future, we must derive strength and confidence from history. And I don't want to be narrow and only talk about Pakistan. It's an international symposium. And generally, I think social studies, the study of history, should be encouraged the more speedily we head into the future. And I'm sure that this symposium, going by the very thought-provoking, informative presentations that we have heard, will be followed also by 2 more sessions of equal richness and depth. And I look forward to meeting you in about 20 or 30 years, hopefully. Someone has invented, along with ChatGPT, the pill of perennial youth. Yeah? And I believe the University of Lahore is going to be the first testing ground for this. I hope you distribute pills to everyone, especially our overseas guests. Yeah? Even though they all look extremely youthful and vibrant, and they'll go back even younger than when they came. Huh? Thank you very much for your attention, and all the very best to you.